I came up with the idea for Magic Revelations during the Christmas holiday of 2013. It was around the time I uploaded my video 90s Christmas Timeline. By the way, if you haven't yet seen that, it's worth checking out. Now originally I was going to borrow a lot of colourblind test plates and other colourblind related pictures for the video Magic Revelations, so then the only part of that video I would own would be the music. But then I started thinking about the feasibility of drawing my own colourblind test plates as well. I felt it was something I could probably do, despite me actually being colourblind myself. Now, before I could draw any colourblind test plates, I decided that the first stage needed to be drawing up a palette of colour schemes. And this is what I came up with. This here is actually the first draft of this palette. Since doing this, I've had to edit it, but I'll elaborate on that later. What you see here then are 20 rows, 10 on the left and 10 on the right, and each row shows a different colour scheme that I can use to draw a colourblind test plate. I planned to start drawing colourblind test plates once I'd finished this palette, until this happened. I came up with more ideas for colour schemes and drew another palette. And then I came up with more and more and more colour schemes. And I went on to draw no less than 16 of these palettes, each consisting of 20 different colour schemes. That is a total of 320 colour schemes. Far, far more than I anticipated coming up with. So once I have done the video Magic Revelations, there will be sequels. Now I think I've come up with a lot of colour schemes which have never been used before. Doing these palettes is a very time-consuming process, and it's what has taken the bulk of my time so far. It's also a very mathematical process, and I could not have done that without my calculator. In a future video, probably after Magic Revelations 1, I'm going to go into more detail on these palettes. So I'm going to talk about them and tell you about the different methods and mathematical formulas I've used. But for now, I'm just showing you a little slideshow of them. I did start drawing another one of these palettes, which I never finished. By this time, it was around about June 2014, and I was getting increasingly concerned about how long it had been since my last upload. So I decided that I must put the palettes on the back burner and start drawing some colourblind test plates. When I drew my first colourblind test plate, it was around that time I realised that the completion of Magic Revelations was going to be much further off than I'd hoped for. I'm going to show you my first colourblind test plate again, only this time it's going to look a little bit different, because this here is the first draft. Now, if you're colourblind, you're not going to be able to see it anyway. But if you are not colourblind, you're probably looking at this, either unable to see the 14, or if you can see it, you'll find it to be just barely visible. I showed this to quite a few people, and that was the kind of feedback I was getting. I suspected the problem was that I had made the colours look too similar. To find out if this was the case, I turned to a genuine Ishihara plate. Ishihara plates were the first colourblind test plates to come out, and they were named after the person who invented them. I used the colour pick tool on an Ishihara plate to select some pairs of colours. I wasn't planning to steal any of them or anything like that. I was just studying them to see how different they were. I was looking at the values of the red, the green and the blue within those colours to see how different mathematically each pair of colours needed to be. And then I used that information and applied it to my own colour schemes to make my own pairs of colours look different enough for somebody not colourblind to be able to see. It's a very complicated procedure, but I felt it was a fail-safe one. I'm now going to show you the colour palette I used for my first colourblind test plate. You've already seen it before, it's palette 1. Here it is. And the colour scheme I used was this one here, the third colour scheme on the left hand side. So you can see these colours in the first draft of my first colourblind test plate. Now all of the colour schemes on this palette use the same mathematical formula, so it seemed logical to alter the whole palette at the same time. I've only got another 15 palettes to redo, so I may be some time. Anyway, using this same colour scheme, but the edited version, I changed my first colourblind test plate from this to this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a Colourful Detour now, and I'm going to start by talking about the pictures I put in that video. There are actually 72 of them. That may sound like a lot for what was meant to be a quick and easy video, but it's actually 16 pictures with quite a number of variations. I'm now showing you how these pictures originally looked before I put colour in them. In each picture you can see a black circle in the centre of the screen, then lots of grey lines emerging from it and heading off in different directions towards the edge of the screen. There's also what I call the inner box. That's that rectangle that's about half the size of the full screen. A couple of these pictures I've done variations with a bigger inner box. I'll explain the purpose of the inner box shortly. All of the lines are in pairs. There will either be 4 pairs of lines, 8 pairs of lines, 12 pairs of lines, or 16 pairs of lines. I then went through my colour palettes and picked out my favourite colour schemes and applied the colours from them to the lines in the pictures I'm showing you now. Now those colour schemes might not be suitable for colourblind test plates, as I've discovered, but I think they're absolutely fine for pictures like this, where you're seeing the two colours right next to each other. In the future I may well make more pictures like this. Now once I put all the colours in these pictures, I did various different variations, like for example I'd perhaps rotate the picture 180 degrees, or I'd do a horizontal flip, which is like a mirror image, or a vertical flip, or I would crop the picture to the inner box, so that's the purpose of the inner box, and then that gives you a zoomed in view. So that is how I got all the variations. Now 12 of these pictures I used 4 times each, and 4 of these pictures I used 6 times each. So that is how I got 72 colour pictures from these 16 grey pictures.